Hello friends, I'm Max Dindy and this is my review of a handheld PC console, the Asus ROG Ally. I will share my thoughts and experiences on whether it's worth buying and how it stacks up against other handhelds like the Steam Deck, Lenovo Legion Go, and Nintendo Switch. Also, I will tell you about its major problems and what I personally like and dislike. So, why did I get the ROG Ally? I became a fan of Nintendo Switch, and the whole idea of a handheld that can also be a stationary console just excited me. I like my Steam Deck, but it could not run many games like Fortnite, Valorant, Call of Duty and other titles with a built-in anti-cheat system. I also wanted to use my Xbox Game Pass library. And for that, I installed Windows on my Steam Deck, but the experience was just bad. So, I decided to try a dedicated Windows handheld, and the ROG Ally seemed like the perfect choice. It is much better with Windows, and you have the Armor Crate application for customization, managing your library, controls, power modes and other features, making it feel more like a console experience. Additionally, Windows driver support is better, and over time Asus has improved many aspects of the software. In terms of performance, the ROG Ally has a more powerful chipset than the Steam Deck, allowing me to enjoy some demanding AAA games on it. And by tweaking some image scaling settings, it becomes capable of playing those games on an external monitor with a nice image, just like a regular PC. As far as emulation, if the Steam Deck didn't have the power to emulate PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Switch games, the Asus ROG Ally handles it easily. And of course, there are no issues emulating older consoles like the PlayStation 2, GameCube, NES, Sega Genesis and others. While I found the Steam Deck in general more comfortable for emulation, if you need something to handle PS3 and Switch games, the ROG Ally is better. Another feature I love about the Ally is the screen. Besides these huge bezels, I like everything. It has higher resolution and frame rate than the Steam Deck and Nintendo Switch. And it's also unique because unlike other handhelds, it has a variable refresh rate, which I think is essential for such a device. These handhelds don't have enough power to run games at a stable 60 FPS, so they often drop to around 40 FPS, and that's when VRR is useful. It helps making the image smoother, you don't see stutters when the FPS drops. And honestly, once you try this feature, it's hard to use other consoles. Regarding the size of the screen, I have no complaints. I think that's good for playing on the go. Would it be bigger? The console would be heavier. On a 7-inch screen you have a nice pixel density, and in comparison to Lenovo Legion Go using the same resolution, the image on the ROG Ally doesn't look as blurry. It's sharp and detailed. It also has nice colors and overall just a great IPS panel, which Asus, by the way, decided to keep even in the new ROG Ally X. So you see, at first glance the Asus ROG Ally seems like a perfect Windows handheld. And my friend asked me, "Hey Max, I have it at my local shop and I know you got one, can you recommend it?" Well, let me tell you what I told my friend, about what concerns me and may concern you. The first problem of the Asus ROG Ally is the MicroSD card slot, which may burn your SD card. It is a design flaw and a well-known issue on Reddit and other forums. Many YouTubers have made videos about it. It's really a big problem. Yes, you may replace the SSD and never use the SD card slot, but it's still a huge red flag when it comes to recommending this console. The second problem is ergonomics and controls. It doesn't feel as comfortable to hold in hands as the Steam Deck because of its sharp edges and back buttons. But it's up to taste and can be fixed with a nice case. What cannot be fixed is the lack of control options. Compared to the Steam Deck and Lenovo Legion Go, it doesn't have touchpads, which could be quite useful for games that were not designed for a controller, or just for navigating the windows. As a result, many games, especially old ones, simply do not recognize the controls of the ROG Ally. On Steam Deck, you can mimic the mouse and keyboard, and such games will work just fine. Regarding the motion controls, it is better than the Legion Go, but worse than the Steam Deck. On the deck, you have little sensors on the sticks that activate the gyroscope, so it's not working when you don't need it. With the Ally, you either turn it on in the settings and deal with an annoying mouse cursor, or assign one of the back buttons to turn it on and off. But then, you are left with just one back button. This leads to another complaint. There are only 2 back buttons. The third problem is battery life. The ROG Ally has a 40 Wh battery, just like the LCD Steam Deck. However, the Steam Deck consumes only 15 watts maximum, while the ROG Ally 25 watts. So playing some AAA games at full power may last just about an hour, and if you lower the power limit, it still won't last as long as the Steam Deck. The fourth problem is the software, and I don't want to blame Asus for this. I think it's just because of the Windows. However, even after a year, I still encounter bugs and crashes here and there. Sometimes the external monitor doesn't work, sometimes I cannot get the game running for some reason, and I spend a lot of time tweaking, troubleshooting, and searching forums for fixes. What I like about my Nintendo Switch was that I could quickly grab it, hop into a game for 20 minutes, then put it to sleep and forget about next time. It's even almost as easy on the Steam Deck, but it's not the case with the Ally. By default, the sleep function is just non-existent. If you put it to sleep, the fans are still blasting, and the console is hot like you're actively playing. If you wake it up, your running app may crash, so you have to turn on the hibernation function in Windows, after which it takes about 10 to 15 seconds to wake up, and some games will still crash. Another problem is that there are two versions of the Asus ROG Ally, which may confuse some people. The only difference is the chipset. There is an Asus ROG Ally with AMD Z1 processor and Asus ROG Ally with a Z1 Extreme processor. Be careful when buying this secondhand or new. The Z1 chip is slower than the Z1 Extreme and even slower than the Steam Deck. At this point, it's not worth it. Another confusing aspect is that you can technically use an external GPU with the Asus ROG Ally, making it a powerful desktop PC. However, you can only do it with this proprietary XG Mobile slot, and the prices for these XG Mobile GPUs are unreasonably high. Even Asus themselves acknowledged that, and in the new model changed it to a classic USB 4 port. The last problem is that Asus has an awful return policy. This is again a well-known issue. To know more about it, I encourage you to watch a Gamer Nexus video, where they conducted a great investigation into how Asus deals with customers. So, in conclusion, can I recommend this console to you? No, because I would not recommend it to my friend and close ones. Even though ROG Ally has many things that I love, it comes with a lot of problems and risk. I understand that it's cheaper than the new ROG Ally X, especially in other countries where the new Ally costs up to $1,000, but thankfully now we have a lot of handhelds to choose from, so at least consider the Lenovo Legion Go or the new ROG Ally X. It has fixed almost all of the problems. It has twice as big a battery, better ergonomics, 24GB of RAM, and a 1TB SSD. They also moved the MicroSD card slot to another place, which might fix the main problem of this console, but only time will show. So that's it, thank you for watching, I hope this video was helpful and saved you some money. If you have any questions, just ask me in the comments, and stay safe, bye!